Hey guys, so here is the last part to the 1.1 notes. We're going to once again kind of talk about vertex and that stuff, and then we're going to get to our word problem. So for this example 4, it says tell whether the function has a minimum value or a maximum. Then find the min or max. So this is what we're thinking. Remember, it said that the vertex is going to be either the highest or lowest. If we think minimum, right, that means that's going to be the lowest, while maximum means it's going to be the highest. So what we are trying to find is first the vertex, because that's either going to be the highest or lowest point on our graph. Now, before we do that, look at this. We have y equals 3x squared minus 18x plus 20. Let's look at our a value here. Is our a positive or negative? It's positive. So which way is our graph going to open? It is going to open up, okay? So since our graph is going to open up, that means that we think about the vertex. The vertex is at the lowest point. So this is going to have a minimum value. Okay? So this is going to have a minimum. Now we need to figure out what is the minimum. So to find that, we're going to figure out the vertex. Okay, so to find x, we do opposite of b over 2a. We know a is our 3, and so b is going to be negative 18. So our opposite of b is going to be 18 over 2 times 3. So that's 18 over 6, which gives us 3. Then we plug that 3 back into the equation to get our y value. So that's 3 times 3 squared minus 18 times 3. And go ahead, this one, because it is going to be a large number, you can just use your calculator on this. So this is going to give us negative 7. So basically, our minimum value is going to be at 3, negative 7. Okay. Now, really, when we think of minimum value, that's going to be particularly of the y value. So negative 7 is the lowest that we have on our axis there, or on our xy coordinate plane. Okay, now let's go ahead. We're going to use that information to do example 5. So it says a go-kart track has about 380 racers per week and charges each racer $35 to race. The owner estimates that there will be 20 more racers per week for every $1 reduction in the price per racer. How can the owner of the go-kart track maximize weekly revenue? Okay, before we solve, let's talk about some of these words. First of all, revenue. What does that mean? Well, that basically means how much money you make. So that's like how much you want to make at the end, okay? What about maximize? What does that mean if we want to maximize our weekly revenue? That means we want to get the most that we can. Okay, now let's talk about this revenue here. How do we get revenue? Because that is going to be our ending cost, right? That's what we want to get at the end. Well, in order to figure out revenue, we're going to figure out, so if we had just 380 racers, right, and we just charged $35 per racer. Well, if we actually just did that math there, right, we would get, calculator, $13,300, okay? So if we actually just multiply for each racer how much it costs, that's going to give us our revenue. So basically what we did was we did the cost that they charge for the go-karts times the attendance, or the number of people. Now, what we also have to include here, though, is now you say, like, hey, how can I maximize if I will be 20 more racers per week if there's $1 reduction? So we want to see where we can do this to get the most money. Okay, so now let's figure out our x and y. So we need to define our variables. Okay, x. We got to think, what is constantly changing? okay? So in this case, what will change is the number of reductions. So like if we reduce the price once, that's going to change something. If we reduce the price another time, and the third time, and a fourth. So the number of price reductions will be our X. Well, Y, of course, that's going to be our end result. That's going to be our revenue. So now, using all this information, let's go ahead and create our equation here. So we have Y equals, which is our revenue. So we are going to follow this revenue equals cost times attendance. So revenues, Y equals okay, cost. Well, we know initially the cost is $35. But what happens? Well, he's saying if we reduce the price for every dollar, okay? So if we're reducing, is that meaning we're subtracting or adding? That is subtracting. And that is our price reduction, so I'm going to have a minus X. Now, let's talk about the attendance, the number of people. Initially, he usually has 380 people that come per week. So that's what he has initially. But if we reduce the price, what happens to the number of people? Well, it says that there will be 20 more racers per week every single time he reduces the price. So that means if we are having an additional 20, is that adding or subtracting? That's going to be adding. And every single time we have that price reduction, okay, that adds another. So if we have one price reduction, that means we go up 20. If we have two price reductions, that means we actually go up 40. Okay. So our equation here is going to be Y equals 35 minus X times 380 plus 20X. Now we are not finished. We found our equation, but now I need to solve. Okay, so I need to figure out what is going to be my result here, my maximum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to FOIL this out to get it into standard form, okay? Because that's what we've been working with, right? Quadratics in standard form. So when I FOIL, or you can also say distribute, I'm going to write this in standard form because I think it's a lot easier. So I have negative 20x squared, okay? Then I get a plus, then I get negative 380x. And then I get a plus, that would be 700x. And then our last one will be the numbers. So that'll be, of course, 13,300. And let me rewrite this so I can condense everything. So negative 20x squared. I do negative 380 plus 700, and that will give me 320, so positive, and then plus 13,300. Okay. Now, if we want to maximize, now this is probably why we did the problem from the previous, maximize, what does that make you think of? Well, that should make you think of the vertex. Remember, the vertex is your minimum or maximum. But let's look at our A value. We have negative 20x squared. So which way is our graph going to open? It's going to go open up or down? It is going to open down. So that means our vertex is going to be a max or maximum, okay? And since we were trying to find the revenue, okay, or it's asking us how can the owner of the go-kart track maximize the weekly revenue, we're trying to figure out, well, how many price reductions can the owner do to maximize that profit or the revenue? So revenue is Y, that means the number of price reductions is going to be our X, and that's what we're trying to solve for. So in order to find the vertex, the X value of it, we need to do our opposite of B over 2A. So our A value is going to be negative 20. Our B is going to be 320. So I have negative 320 over 2 times negative 20. You can go ahead and plug that into your calculator if you need to. And when we do so, we have negative 320 divided by 40, or negative 40, and that gives us 8, okay? So that's basically 8 of our price reduction right there, okay? So if we decrease by 8, that will kind of help us figure that out. Now let's see, what about our revenue? How much are we going to make here? So we just plug it in. I'm running out of room here, but that's okay. So we plug 8 into our equation of negative 20x squared plus 320x plus 13,300, okay? If we plug our 8 into there, how much money will we make? We will make $14,580. Okay. So we decrease by $8. That's basically our max revenue that we can get. So that kind of helps out. Okay, our last part. What if there was a $2 reduction in the price per eraser? All I want you guys to do here is create that equation, kind of like what we did previously. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, create that equation. Okay, we have a price reduction. So once again, we do cost, so it's still going to be $35, but we are doing by $2 reduction. That means we're going to have a minus 2x. And then for the attendance, it's going to be basically the same here. So we're going to have that 380 because that's our initial here, and then we're going to have our plus 20x since we are adding racers. And that's all we're going to do for that one. Okay? Okay, make sure if you have any questions, you contact me, and make sure you work on the homework assignment. See you guys later.